Hey y'all, it's me Tiffany and welcome back to my channel. So if this is the first time you're here, I mostly do books, manga, graphic novels, occasionally a television show or a movie. So I'm a big Death Note fan and this has came out maybe a little late because some stuff has been translated, and if you hear noise in the background, my cats decided they want to play right now. This has 6 stories, and you know, there's a lot of stuff when we talk about Death Note, like they wanted to end it sooner, but they weren't able to, things like that. Apparently, Bakuman covers that. Personally, I have not read Bakuman. I've always been told to read it because how much I love Death Note, things like that. I just have it, right? So I read this, I enjoyed it. I didn't read it as it was being translated or it came out digitally, whatever. But I enjoyed this nonetheless. So I want to talk about all of this. So this is definitely going to be spoiler heavy on some of the stories, probably more than others, because some of them, there's not really much to spoil. But yeah, so let's jump into it. So there is Kira. So this is basically, if somebody else got the Death Note, this is a different Kira. This is after like Yagami has done all his stuff and Nier is still around. This is years later. And I thought it was interesting because this particular Kira decided, I don't know much about what's going on in Japan and their economic stuff, but at least in this, I don't know if in real life, apparently people are living a lot longer than they used to. And you know, this is after they stopped having wars, things like that. And this Kira decides to kill old people who are dying with illnesses and stuff. I don't think they're killing all people over 60 just because, but the ones who are like basically, I guess maybe have some kind of illness that makes them get more money off the government, things like that, than like your average person. Kira's killing them, and then they freak out and they unlive themselves. So this Kira's, I guess, a little more boring, but I like the different aspect of morality because it's like, oh, but this is like basically sacrificing everybody for the greater good kind of thing. Like the people who would be begging for death is the ones that he basically attacked because, you know, in a lot of places, if you get cancer or something like that, you just kind of have to deal with it, even if you would like to opt out. A lot of states don't let you, and they don't let you get medical help for that. So Kira was fascinating, and I thought it was interesting that Nier in this was like, I am not going to get involved because I'm just not interested. And he tells the whole world this, and I'm just like, whoa, what? So basically, Ryuk drops a Death Note, and somebody picks it up, comes up with a plan. He's real young, and then he's like, come back to me 2 years later. So that happens. And instead of using the Death Note, decides to make money off the Death Note. And the way this Kira goes about it was fascinating. Basically has a bidding war, and the United States president in this, who looks like Trump, and I think it's supposed to be Trump because that's the only thing that makes sense, it was like, yeah, wins it. But then the Shinigami guy gets on the Ryuk's like, I didn't think this had to be a rule, but you cannot sell the Death Note. So it basically made a rule of like, if you buy the Death Note, when the swap is made, the people die. So yeah, the president ended up losing the money because Ryuk went and warned, I guess, this particular president, like, hey, if you take the Death Note from me, you're going to instantly die, but maybe, you know, your country could use it, whatever, it's however you want on that. And this president's like, no, which I think is valid because Ryuk's like, oh, so you care more about your life than your country having this power. Which, if I was this president, this is the one time I'd be like, well, yeah, because you don't know how they're going to use it. You don't know how things are going to go on. And most people inherently don't want to die. Maybe they just wanted to lock it up somewhere. And I doubt this. I really doubt it, but optimistically, you can make laws where it never gets used again, things like that. But when the person receives the money, even if the other person does it, because, like, you know, he denies it, well, the way the money is being given, so people don't know who had the original Death Note, everybody with this one bank that happens to be Kira's bank receives the money, and it's split up. And I think that's actually really, really smart. But unfortunately, this Kira was like, don't ever contact me again. I want to forget all memories. So Ryuk honors that. And so when he pulls the money out of the ATM, he dies. And that kind of made me mad because I'm like, how can you kill a person who this rule was not in effect when they made this thing. Like, it'd be kind of like, I think it's a little bit more fair on the president's end, because it wasn't like the president, first off, the president was warned, but at the same time, you know, things have already happened. But it made me mad, because I'm like, how in the world can you say, like, oh, there's no rule for this, oh, last minute, you're going to be punished, boom, you know, no president. It made me mad. But it was an interesting twist, and it riled up some emotions in me. So it's really good. It's the longest story in this. So yeah, there were like a 4-panel comics, and I chuckled a little bit, but to be honest, I kind of didn't care. Like, I think they're fun antidotes, and it's fine being in this. But if it was a long, or this whole thing was that, I definitely would not be interested in this. And then they had one day, like the first day of Elle being Elle after he gets done with his stuff. And then they had like Elle in the orphanage or young. I thought those were fine, and I thought those were okay. But at the same time, I just didn't care. Yeah, I mean, I do like short stories, but I usually don't care about random side stories and stuff. I know that might sound weird because, well, they're not showing up in the stack, but I have the short stories of Sailor Moon. I think they're fine. The thing is, I think they're fine. They're just not the thing that I'm really like, I need. And I say that this here too. I care more about the new characters. I like short stories in that world, but I don't really care about side stories about regular characters. And then the last one I found rather interesting, because it was like a young kid, and they just totally, I don't know, just didn't read the front or didn't take it seriously, but use it as an actual journal, put the name in a couple of bullies because the person's getting bullied. They die, and they're like, so it puts in the name of more bullies. They all die, and the police are like, how did so many kids in one class all die of heart attacks? Something's weird, but something you really can't prove. And then the whole organization that wasn't Yagami, who got the death note for a while, that was in the main series, got mentioned as an event that happened before that's similar. But then Ryuk gave an eraser, so then everybody came back to life as long as they're not cremated. And it was like, what the heck? And then, being panicked, threw away the death note. Somebody else got it, put their name back in there, and they died again. But then it got erased again. So I don't know. That's a lot of trauma. And I thought it was crazy anyways, that if you died and came back to life the next day, your parents would still send you to school. Like, but anyways. And then our main character dies and comes back to life, so they just burn the death note. I think this was like a pre-idea of before like Yagami. I'm not fully sure though. I don't know the backstory on that. But I thought it was interesting and would have been an interesting aspect to throw into this. But yeah, like, I had fun with at least 3 of the stories. And the longest one was definitely the best. I could have done maybe a whole volume on that. I don't think that's something you could really stretch out. But yeah, it was interesting, especially like in more modern day. I would love more stories in this world, or maybe even a mini series, but I don't know if they'll tackle that, because last time they were forced to kind of keep it longer than they was, or at least that's what it seems like. So yeah, guys, if you enjoyed this and read this too, let me know in the comments section below, and I will see you later. Bye!